Hello again. This is Jimmy, and we're reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and we're talking about pages 20 to 21, which is the next part of chapter one. We're going to analyze this now. It started out on the prior page. There was nothing else to do. So, dot, dot, dot. Alice soon began talking again. So, in this first paragraph, which is again a long sentence, and we already talked about why the third person narrator uses long sentences to really talk about what's going on, let us use our imagination. So, since there's nothing else to do, as she's falling, remember, she's falling and falling and falling, she starts talking again to herself and talks about Diana the cat. And she says that Diana will miss her, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to call your, I'm not going to read this whole thing because we read it before, but she's talking to herself. She says things like, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air. And then she starts saying a little rhyme. Do cats eat bats? Say that 5 times. Do cats eat bats? And she starts talking to herself and really amusing herself. And she couldn't, and what I want to call your attention to is she couldn't answer any question because it didn't matter which way she put it. Before we do that, I want to call your also attention to the word wonder. Remember, the title of the book is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So she wonders if cats eat bats. And since she couldn't answer either question, in her mind, it didn't matter which way she asked the question. One of the things to think about is really, for example, point of view, not just third person, first person, but point of view. So does the sun, I'm going to write something here, does the sun go around the earth, or does the earth go around the sun? Now, when we look at the sky and we see the sun moving, it looks like the sun is moving, but through education and going to school, we're taught that what basically is going on is that the earth is going around our sun. But if you think of it, does cats eat bats? Do bats eat cats? She doesn't know the answer, so it doesn't matter which way she puts it. And in all honesty, does the sun go around, and I'm sorry, I made a little typo there, the sun go around the earth, or does the earth go around the sun? What's interesting about that question is really it doesn't really matter. Now we believe we know the truth, but if we really want to know the truth, the sun and the earth are actually moving as well. They're moving through space, and I don't want to get into a long dissertation. But point of view, coordinates, remember, Lewis Carroll was a mathematician. And there's a lot of math going on in this, secret math, but I want to uncover it for you if we can. So Alice is falling, amusing herself. And she had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with her cat and was saying very earnestly, right? Earnestly, there's a beautiful word. Now, Diana, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat? When suddenly, and there's the word suddenly, remember, suddenly is a word that you'll see repeatedly. If you look at the next page, suddenly is right there at the top. Suddenly, this word suddenly. And then what the narrator goes is thump, thump. She falls on sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Whoops. The fall was over. So she's done falling. She's landed on leaves. You remember in the prior pages we saw she took the jar of orange marmalade, thought if she dropped it, she might kill someone. And then I showed you that it wouldn't, if she dropped it, it would move with her. And the fall was over. And she was not a bit hurt. This is important, right? She's not a bit hurt. And she jumped up onto her feet. You remember the last word that we use, jumped. If you, in the prior sentence, she started, jumped and started, I would say she jumped. Those are extraordinarily quick words, because remember, he wants to get the idea across of motion, quick motion, right? So she falls. She looks down a dark passage over. It's overhead. It's dark. She looks down another passage, and she can see the white rabbit still running. The white rabbit is still running down there. There wasn't a moment to be lost, and she follows him like the wind. See, again, there's that motion, like the wind. And she was just in time to hear it say, "Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting." There's the reference to time again, time. The rabbit talks again. Remember, we are now in Wonderland. So she was close behind it, and she turned the corner, but the rabbit was no longer to be seen. This is very important, this whole idea of motion. And also, you're going to see repeatedly in the next few pages that when you go to the same place, things change. Things are always changing. Let me write that down. Change. Early Greek philosopher used to say everything is like a river. Like you can't put your foot in the same place in a river because the river is always flowing, which is the truth. It's the same thing in life. You can't ever really relive a moment because it's changed. This whole idea, let me write another idea now that we can think about: past, present, future. So when you think about time, you think about things in the past, in the future, in the present. And I want you to keep that in mind throughout this entire story, because what we're going to see Alice experience now is things that are happening now in the present. She turns the corner and suddenly she's chasing the rabbit and he's no longer there. Just like when she fell in the hole. She jumped into the hole and started falling down after she was running in that passage. There was no mention of the rabbit, but now that she's fallen and landed, she sees the rabbit. There's the rabbit. She found herself in a low hall, right? Lit by rows of lamps. So it's a dark hall again, lit by rows of lamps. Okay? There's this hall, and now suddenly she walks sadly down the middle of the hall, down one side and up the other side. She sees these doors. They're all locked. She goes up and down the hall. They're all locked. We don't know how many doors there are, but she's locked. So really, in all honesty, what she's feeling now is trapped. Sorry, let me take that over. Trapped. Alice is trapped. She's trapped. Have you ever been trapped? Have you ever felt trapped? So she's trapped. Now, he never uses the word trapped, the narrator. I say he in the general sense. We don't know if it's a he, she, or it narrating. It's a third person narrator. But he never, she never, it never uses the word trapped. They show you, the narrator shows you that Alice is trapped. She's wondering how she'll ever, and suddenly she came upon a three-legged table. See, so she sees this three-legged table. Suddenly, where was it before? She ran up, she walked up and down the hall, but suddenly she sees this table. And it's all made of glass, and there's nothing on it but a tiny golden key. And her first idea is that, wait, this might open up one of these doors. But alas, the locks were too large or the key was too small, but at any rate, it would not open any of them. The locks were too large or the key was too small. Do you remember what we just talked about? That you can ask the question in many different ways, it doesn't matter. So either the locks were too large on these doors or the key was too small to fit the lock. It really didn't matter. Nothing worked, right? At any rate, they would not open. I want to also call your attention to punctuation. You see the semicolon here, and then you also see the comma and also the last here, right here. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh boy, what is that all about? Let's not do that. What's going on here with my little thing? Okay, it's the wrong thing. Okay, undo, undo. I grabbed the wrong tool. It's this tool. Okay, alas, the exclamation point usually stops. That's one of your reader voices indications to stop. But I want you to note here what the narrator is doing is he's using not alas, but really the next sentence is in lowercase. When you have a punctuation mark and a lowercase letter after that, that means it's not a full stop like a period or an exclamation point. An exclamation point is a full stop exclamation point with gusto. But alas, and you keep reading. In your reader's voice, you keep reading. So Alice's first idea is it would belong to one of the doors of the hall, but alas, and you keep reading. You don't stop. That's very important. We're going to see that over and over and over again. So, however, none of it wouldn't work. But the second time around, this is very important too. The second time around, she came upon a low curtain she had not seen before. Okay. So she ran through, the locks didn't work, and then she does it again, and there's this curtain that she didn't see before. This is a very important concept in life and in Wonderland, because sometimes when you look at the same thing again, you see more things that you didn't see before. This is true of any classic piece of literature. And there's a saying that comes out. I want to type it out. Should I type it out for you? Okay. The more you look, the more you look, the more you see, the more you see, the better you know where to look. This is really one of the most important concepts you'll ever see in your life. The more you look, the more you see, the more you see, the better you know where to look. Alice went down that corridor, didn't see that curtain. She went down again, and suddenly she saw that curtain. She didn't notice it before. We're trained to see what we want to see a lot of times. We don't see what's there all the time. And I'm sure you can experiment with yourself, and we'll have more examples as we read this story. But there's a low curtain there, and behind that curtain was a little door, 15 inches high, 15 inches. So the narrator is telling us how high that is. How high is 15 inches? Well, take a ruler out and put it up there and see how high 15 inches is. She tried the golden key in the lock, and it fit. It fitted. You see this time the exclamation point? You see what I'm saying? Here at the exclamation point, you stop. It fitted. It fitted. She's excited, and you stop. The next thing you know, she looks through it, and the door itself is no bigger than what? It's not much larger than a rat hole. Most of the times, it depends on where you live. I don't know if you've ever seen a rat hole, but you can look it up on Google or look at it, and there are really holes that the rat goes through. It's a little small hole. But it led to that door opened 15 inches, that led into a small passage. So the door opens, and it leads into a small passage, not much larger than a rat hole. So you're going into layers. She knelt down and looked at it, and she saw the loveliest garden you ever saw. Loveliest garden you ever saw. She longed to get out of the dark hole. She longed to get out of the dark hall and wander among the beds of bright flowers and those cool fountains. And she could not even get her head through the doorway. So she's longing if I can only get out of this dark hall. Aren't we all sometimes longing to get out of the dark hall we're in, into a lovely garden with bright flowers, cool fountains? But she couldn't even get her head through the doorway. And even if my head would, see the italics there? Would. And we're going to stop reading there, but I can tell you what it will say. And even if her head would go through. We're going to read that in the next chapter. All right. So this is the next couple of pages in Alice in Wonderland, chapter 1. This is Jimmy. Jimmy at readingwithjimmy.com. Jimmy at readingwithjimmy.com. If you have any questions, you want to talk about this, please let me know. And again, thanks for listening. Look forward to the next time.